Hello and welcome to Nuts and Bolts. Fantastic to have you here. We've got a great session on today. We are going to talk about if you've got some members on your team that are underperformers, what are you going to do about it? What do you need to do to fix that situation? So we're going to go through and talk about that today. So what's the first thing we do? First off, we do not ignore the problem. Okay, so if somebody is an underperformer, there is a reason behind that. Either one, they need more training, skills, knowledge. Number two, attitudinal, they don't give a stuff about it because it's not really floating their boat and it's not really what they want to do. Or number three, they just don't have the capacity or capability to be able to do it. So we've got to get to the root cause. So we're not going to throw our head in the sand and ignore it. We are going to actually deal with this situation. Too often it goes unaddressed. So many performance problems aren't dealt with directly through leaders that I've seen. And instead of taking action, they'll transfer the person onto somebody else or just let them stay put without doing anything about it. And that's not a great situation, not only for the leader, but for your whole team, but for that person that's underperforming too, because the whole team will be getting frustrated and they'll be taking their frustrations in a maybe an underlying type of way on this person here. So it's not a nice situation for anyone to be in. So never allow underperformance to fester in your team. It's something that we need to, nip in the bud. This doesn't get any better. It usually gets worse. Okay, so we need to nip it in the bud really, really early. Right, what are we going to do? We've got to work out what's causing the problem. Okay, is the person fit for the role? Do they have the capacity and the capability to continue doing this role? Capacity, what I mean by capacity is the role might have lots and lots of functions and it needs somebody who's quite a good multiple tasker or whatever. Does this person have the capacity to do that? Can they get it all done in the time frame that's expected? Do they have the capability? So do they have enough training? Do they have the support? Do they have the resources? All those sorts of things to do it. Is their expectations a bit different to yours? Is that a conversation that you need to have? Is their strengths and experience in this role adequate and suffice? Or is it something that you need to change? So is it the person or is it the role? So we have to think about that. Lacking the skills. Is there misunderstanding of expectations? Sometimes there's a mismatch between what the leader thinks the expectation of the role is to what the member thinks their expectation of the role is. And that could be solved by conversation. So sometimes these underperformance issues can be solved quite quickly, but I wouldn't say that that's a common case. Really, really critical to have a conversation about expectations of the role, and then that will bring up so if you say, hey, listen, this role that you've been working in the last 6 months, there's actually expectations that you've been doing A, B, and C, which is great, but the expectation is you'll be doing D, E, and F as well. And if they come back and say, oh, there's not time enough in the day to do that, then you know it's a capacity issue. Or I have no idea what you're talking about, training and capability issue. Oh, no way, I can't do that, and that drive me up the wall. I hate doing that in the first place, let alone stuffing that in there as well. Suddenly not fit for role because obviously this is not motivating them or floating their boat, or it's not something that they've got strengths in. So you will find out in that expectation discussion where we sit, and then we need to act accordingly. So don't ignore the problem. Make sure you consider what's causing the problem by having one of those expectation chats. Ask others what you might be missing. So this person might work with other departments or other leaders as well, consequently in their projects or tasks or day-to-day activities. So go and have a quiet chat. Say, hey, how do you find Jonathan on that project that you guys did for the last 2 months? See what they say. If they say, oh, he was brilliant at A, B, and C, lacking a bit of experience there, but he was getting there, then you know that this is something that's got potential that you can fix. If they say, oh, we hardly ever saw him, he didn't turn up at the meetings, then you're suddenly going, okay, so there's a general trend here. It's not just me. It's not just me getting frustrated with the lack of performance that's happening here. It's actually a theme that's coming through. So that might be something that you want to do before you act, is have a bit of a chat to those external sources that might be spending a lot of time with that person. Do it If you're going to do that, make sure you do it quietly and confidentially. It's not something that you want the whole world to know. Okay, if you're doing a bit of investigating about this person's performance outside of your local team, then you need to just ask the questions. And people say, why do you want to know? Just say, oh no, we're just doing some one-on-ones and performance appraisal, pre-work or whatever, and we're looking at, which is pretty much what it is. You're investigating the performance of this person. So just make sure it's done in a confidential way. Okay, so what are you going to have to do about it? Because obviously now you've done all your investigating and you've had those expectation chats. What do you need to do about it? Because it's really, really important we nip this in the bud. So once somebody has been identified as an underperformer, and what we need to do is reduce the gap of what that underperformance is. If that gap is never going to be reduced, then we have to determine whether this person is fit for role, or maybe there's another role within the business somewhere else that they're better fitted to. But what are you got to do? You've got to meet one-on-one with your team member and make sure that you provide really clear and specific feedback on what you need that role to be done. So we've already had the expectations talk. So this is about feedback on issues and the impact of those issues. Oh, listen, Jonathan, when you didn't get those reports out on Thursday, because part of that role is that getting the reports out every Thursday. When we didn't get them last Thursday with a team meeting, we didn't have any of the stats. We couldn't determine where we were going for the next, week, all that sort of stuff. So how it impacts you. So really, really important to work out that. Ask them, is there any roadblocks? Is there any issues? Do you have any things that you need from me to help you with this role? If you can't get that out on Thursday, what can we do to allow that to happen? What do you need freed up? Do you need more resources? Find out all this sort of information as well. But also encourage them to come up with a solution. So what support do you need? And then sit back and let them come up with something. Because if they go, I don't know, then it's attitudinal, and it could be an issue in that department. If they can't find a solution, then that's the point where you will provide a solution. So if they can't provide any sort of ideas of what to do, say, okay, how about we do this? And then put some sort of options in front. Every discussion you're going to have with this member, you're going to set little bullet point notes on and keep it in a file, okay? Because if this moves to this person will never have the capability nor the capacity to do this role, at some point you have to give, you have to ask them to show cause of why they should still be working there if they're continuously underperforming. And you can only do that if you've shown a pattern of help, coaching, support, resources, extra training, everything that you possibly can to get this person on point. So make sure that you're keeping all the records of these conversations that you're having. Make sure that you have regular feedback on goals. So those big audacious goals, cut them up into bite-sized pieces and say, you know what, instead of our monthly one-on-one, I'd like to catch up with you weekly every Monday, and we'll just set those smaller tasks and smaller goals, and that might help them with the capacity type stuff. Make sure you give them lots of feedback in those meetings as well, and keep that going for a period of time and see if there's any change. Are they coming up to a performance now? Is the expectations being answered? Is the standard being lifted? If there is, indications that that's happening, well then, there's obviously a solution here that's working for them. So let's keep leveraging that. The other thing, if there is that standard is raising, then you want to praise and reward. So you want to praise that person. You want to make sure that you're giving that feedback to say, hey, you got that report done on Thursday. Not only did you give it to us on Thursday, which was what the expectation was, but you added pictures and you had a graph and there was an Excel spreadsheet bit in there, and they were all really, really helpful. And we've never had that before, so well done. So you're actually praising them if they're going out and above and trying to, make that role their own. And if there isn't any improvement, if nothing has changed, if there's still an underperformance, then this is the stage where you need to act more, okay? And this is where you will elicit the help of your HR team and you will go down a disciplinary line. Because if that person's not fit for role, maybe we need to look outside the square. Is there another role that they want? Would they prefer to work for a different department? If they're not happy in this particular role, what other things could they suggest that they would like to do? You know, so you need to explore what options you've got, and the HR person will be able to help you with that exploration. But don't let it fester. Don't stick your head in the sand. Don't avoid it. It's got to be acted on. So hopefully we can bounce this person back and give them the support and resources and coaching that they need. But if they don't, then we need to act. So I hope that's helped. Remember, you're not alone, okay? You've got other team members or team leaders that have done this before that you can reach out to and all those sorts of things. Just remember, things are confidential, so don't be having too many conversations sprouting all this about. You don't want that person to hear on the grapevine what you're talking about. So keep confidential things at bay. But I hope that helped. And if you've got any sort of issues going forward, if you've got an issue right now that you're dealing with an underperformer and there's a particular component of what I've talked about that you want me to go further into, then absolutely drop us a line here at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com. We'll get back to you straight away. I'll send you a little video and hopefully it'll help you find a really great solution. All right, but until then, have a fantastic rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend, and we will be back again next Thursday. I'll see you then. Cheers. Bye for now.